What's up, you guys? It's Peaches. I'm back with another video. This time we are going to focus on ombre application, how to get a smooth ombre, you guys. This, especially for this type of length, I know a lot of people can do long nails really well, but sometimes they struggle with like a shorter length. So I'm here today to show y'all what do I do to get a perfect ombre every time. So first things first, the way I do it is I go ahead and lay the tip color, and I like to lay it way above where I would, I guess, be blending down my ombre. So that guarantees that the ombre color that you're blending down is going to blend down into this color like really nicely. Okay, this is milky white. Okay, no, I'm lying. It's not called milky white. It's called core white by Young Nails, but it is like a milky white. It's like right between coke white and milky white. Normally I will use the regular white by Not Polish, depending on the look I'm going for, but I ain't got none, so we're just gonna go ahead and use core white. It's really nice because it is like a softer white, but not like hella translucent, so you can blend most colors with this no problem. Okay, basically what we're gonna do is I lay the tips and I form it really well to the tips, so that way no matter what I do, I shouldn't have no problems keeping the shape. Okay, now granted, with ombre, sometimes the shape can get a little, a little funny like for people because you have to cap your ombre in clear. But I will talk to you guys later about how do I cap in clear to basically avoid losing all the shape that I had made with my brush, if that makes sense. So as you can see, we did soak her off. That yellow is from I don't know how many sets ago. It's just holding on for dear life. She's one of my regulars. So as long as it's something that you did, like it's your work, as long as it's thin enough to be covered by another color, do not stress about it because it's going to be covered up and it's not bringing no harm to the nail. So that's just another tip for that. But yeah, a nice thin layer. Okay, not so thin that you can see through the color, but also not so thick that you're not making the structure with this. However, like that's what I would tell a beginner. You're not making the structure with this, so make it, on the thinner side. But if you are not a beginner and you are still struggling with ombre, okay, what I will tell you is I do the ends, like this end color, thick enough so that way when I go ahead and cap, I don't even have to drag it down to the ends. Okay, so by that I mean, you see how the part that's on the nail plate, okay, that's on the actual real nail, that part I make sure that it's on the thinner side, because as you ombre down over it, it's gonna cause more bulkiness. Like that's just, it is what it is. Especially if your ombre is not good enough to where you can kind of just ombre it and keep going. You have to like work with it back and forth. You need that area to be thin. But you can see on this bead, this is not super thin what I'm dragging down. It's not super thin. It has like a little bit of, I don't even want to call it thickness because I don't want to confuse anyone, but it does have a little bit of substance there. So that way when it's time to go in and cap the ombre, I'm not gonna have to really cap the tips, if that makes sense. So I'll go into more detail and explain that once we get to the color we are ombreing down. Okay, so once again, I am taking a bead. I don't work very wet with these ombres because I don't want the colors to be going all over the place. Okay, I want it to like stick to where I want it so that I can form it to the nail so that it keeps the shape. Because when keeping the shape with ombre, what gets hard is that some tutorials or people might tell you, oh, work wet because it's ombre. I pretty much I just use smaller beads. I don't necessarily work more wet. I just work with smaller beads. Okay, that will make it easier, so that way stuff is just not going all over the freaking place. Okay, got it. Boom, bam. That's what we got going with the tips. We about to move on to the color we're ombreing down, the nude, because this is a nude and white ombre. The nude color, I believe, is called Touch of Lips by Not Polish. Actually, I know it's called Touch of Lips by Not Polish. So you'll be able to see here where I start the ombre. You see I got a small bead. I put it right on top of that line that was made by the white, and I kind of push it up above that and I feather down. So in doing that, I'm not trying to ombre over the line, because if you try and do that, that part is going to be thin. You're going to be able to see through the white, and it's going to be tougher for you to get a blend. So I set the bead on the line where the real nail meets the tip color, and then I drag up and drag down, and now you see I'm creating the color in the apex area, and I still ombre down. Now what I like to do, I like to build my apex at this moment. I do not use the clear to build the apex, because that will cause too much bulkiness with all these colors underneath. And then what I go ahead and do is take a smaller bead again, and I just fix the ombre to like drag it down as far as I like. And you can see I'm just dragging it down as far as I like. Sometimes I like a shorter ombre, sometimes I like, by that I mean like I don't want very much nude at the top of the cuticle area. Sometimes I like more color near the tip. So that's preference, which is what I'm doing. But right now I'm building the apex, as you can see, because I don't want to do that with clear. Okay, not only do we got 2 layers of colors underneath meeting, but then add clear on top of the whole nail, like girl, of course it's going to be bulky, and it's going to be hard for you to keep your shape. So after I'm done finessing my ombre, I don't move on to the next one. I go ahead and just cap. Okay, which is not what I'm doing yet. I'm just explaining to you. Now I'm adding a little bit white because I want the tip to be a little brighter than what it was. So now you see where I'm putting the clear? I'm putting it in the middle of the nail. I'm just swiping up because I already built my apex, and I'm pretty much just slightly dragging it down so that way that middle area has some coverage. Because realistically, how much color with the beads that I put down, the thickness of the beads that I put down, they're not too thin but not too thick, so that way I can go ahead and have some of my structure built. So when I go ahead and cap, I don't have to worry about trying to build everything up and everything's getting out of control and the shape is going crazy. Okay, so here we are again. Put that bead right on top of that white area. You push some up, you drag it down, and you see it creates really just a like seamless ombre. Like honestly, hold on, let me get a little bit of drink. Honestly, I've been doing this method. Hold on, I'm sorry, I got some soup right here, y'all. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Okay. Honestly, once I started doing it like this, and I didn't see this on YouTube. I figured it out on my own, because based on how I was doing it before, I have always liked to go do one hand at a time. So let me just complete this ombre hand and go on to the next, so that way all the fingers on this hand can look the same. Then on the other hand I can use the previous hand for reference. But yeah, you see I'm building the apex, and I'm not on nails this length. You really don't need a large apex, but you do need a little something, because nails in this like medium short type length, they can still break off. Okay, don't get it twisted. They should not be all the way completely just flat like nail polish. Okay, you still need a little bit of apex. So for nails like this, the apex goes more towards the back third of the nails, they call it. This is just me and my personal preference with the tips that I use, because again, I do use tips that are not perfectly straight like how a lot of people use. I use just like standard nail tips from the nail supply, 60 cents a pack. Okay, anyway, so since doing it like this, just over time, this is just how I ended up doing it. Okay, so you can see again the apex is already built, so I really just need to push the clear up enough and drag it down enough so that way the ombre is protected. And you can see from this profile view in a way how the nail is not completely flat. You can see there's a little bit of an apex, and it just has a nice little structure, and it's cute, and it's whatever, you feel me? So yeah, once I started doing it like this, it has been such a help in making my nails a lot less bulkier. And that has been something that I have always wanted to work on for a while, and this is how I achieve a non-bulky ombre with my method. Okay, so again, you see the beads that I work with, they're not super duper wet at all. They're really just like standard beads, and it's really about how you feather them up and down. Because once you do this part, once you feather up near the cuticle and you feather down to however far down you want it to be, that white part where the nail, the natural nail and the initial tip color meet, That's what a lot of people have a hard time covering, and that's what people have a hard time. They go back and forth, and then the middle is really thick, but the cuticle and the ends are not. Or the whole nail is really thick because now they're capping to try and make up for how thick the middle is, which is what you don't want to do. We want a nice natural looking ombre. Okay. So yes, this is how I suggest. This is my personal method. I didn't get it from anywhere. I didn't take it from anybody. I didn't, anything like that. Not to say nobody else does it this way, but this is just how I eventually just started doing it over time from doing so many ombres, honestly. And the crazy part is I used to not like doing ombres at all. I used to couldn't stand doing ombres because I was that person that had a lot of trouble with a thick middle, and the end and the cuticle area where the apex is will be okay. And I couldn't figure it out, so I did not like doing ombres. And just one day after practicing, I didn't want to say practicing, but like I had so many clients a week that wanted ombre at one point in time that it was like, okay, maybe this isn't so bad, and you just develop techniques to make it go quicker. So this video is about 16 minutes long, and so you figure it takes me 30 minutes to do ombre application on both hands. Now I've gotten to a point where it's just like boom bam boom, it's quick, it goes. Every ombre is like, I don't want to say perfect, but every ombre comes out really, really well. I don't have to really think about it too hard. Okay, so another thing I would say, see how I'm holding the hands like this? It's because I like to look and make sure. Now, if my apex was lacking in like if I was gonna use the color to make the apex how I showed you guys, see right here, I added clear, because now every now and then, sometimes I don't make enough of an apex, so I need to just go in with the clear and just kind of like touch up an area. If I was like moving a little too fast, or if a bead was not how I liked it or something, don't stress. If something goes a little wrong, just move on to the next, and guess what? You can always go back. Because another thing that people have trouble with is the fact that if you work with an ombre and it's too wet, there's no way it's never ever gonna blend. Because if you try and just, let's say I just put the white down and now I'm trying to put down the nude, it's most likely not going to work very well because the white hasn't dried. If the tip color hasn't dried and you're adding more of a wet bead on top, the tip color is going to be more and more translucent because you're effectively swiping away the color that you just laid down as well. So you have to take that in consideration to not try and do both parts of the ombre and then cap, and it's like everything is wet. It's not going to work out right. So this is why I lay all the tip color first, because by the time I'm done with the thumb, the pinky is dry. So that's a really good way to have a different result as well if your ombres are less pigmented than what you thought they would be, you know. So I'll say don't worry about that. Another thing not to worry about, you can see on this finger it looks like it's not as blended as what it is or what have you, and I'm like going back and forth. I'm just adding little tiny parts. I'm looking as a whole, like, okay, does this one look differently blended than that one? How can I fix it? So I like to look at the nails from all angles. I like to look at them together. I like to look at them apart, right? And then what I'll go ahead and do is, if I know for a fact, like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, when you cap and clear, it does do something special sometimes, because sometimes your ombre might look a little slightly raggedy, but when you put the clear over it, it like takes away from the appearance of it being a little raggedy, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that if it looks super bad it's gonna fix it, but if it doesn't look as blended as you would like in that moment, sometimes when you do cap and clear, it does like take away from a slight bit of raggediness. I don't even know how to explain it. If you know what I'm talking about and you happen to be watching this video, comment below if you made it this far. I know I'm still like a newer YouTube channel, so there's probably not going to be very many people watching this video, but if you do and you know what I mean, let me know, okay? Oh, y'all, this drink is so good. Oh my gosh. So we're on the last finger. We're almost through the video. I hope everything that I'm talking to you about helps. I know things are kind of vague. I know ombre can be very difficult. It is one of those designs that looks so simple and is so easy, but until you actually figure out your Krabby Patty secret recipe formula on how to get your perfect ombre on every person, it can be a little raggedy. The process can be a little raggedy, and it can be a little discouraging to keep wanting to go on with it when you don't know exactly I'm sorry y'all, exactly how to go about it. So just know, work in small beads, work less wet, okay? Let the tip color dry first. Don't work too thin. And we're talking about this particular length. If you guys want another like ombre tips video for a longer length, let me know and I'll find somebody to actually, I just record who I want, honestly. I'll just record it when I do it, you know. So that for this length, and try and keep the shape the best that you can, and blend up and blend down from where that tip color meets on the natural nail. That right there is going to save you a lot of trouble, okay? It's going to save you a lot of trouble. It's going to save you a lot of frustration. That and not working as wet, because you don't need to work wet for things to blend. You actually need something on that nail has to be dried for you to effectively blend down, okay? So this is after application, and then this is after shaping and filing. And I really hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. I'll be back with another video soon. Good luck on your ombres, and I'll talk to y'all later.